lot of wood. Oh, that's a lot of wood. Oh, that's a lot of... Hi, Teebs here. It's been a bit, hasn't it? Yeah, it has. That sanitizer's been sitting on my desk for like a couple years now. I should probably throw that out. I think I had that during COVID. Anyway, it's been a bit, and I need to give you a bit of an update, at least for the next 3 months, maybe a bit more. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, and it kind of affects both this channel for a positive and the Twitch, and, well, it's complicated. We'll get to that, but anyway, we gotta start somewhere, right? So let's start at the beginning. So you saw these mountains with the trees in the introduction, right? When that footage was recorded, it was the morning of July 4th, 2025, and me and Chance were still on the number 40 Floridian. It was making its way through, I guess, Pennsylvania at the time. It could have still been in Maryland, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it was making its way towards its ultimate premature terminus in Toledo, Ohio. And I know what you're thinking, well, why was it premature? Well, you're not supposed to see those mountains, in the daytime at least, on that direction. And the only reason we were able to see that was because absolute tragedy occurred. All right, let's set the scene. On July 2nd, 2025, as the train was moving through Dillon, Florida, a car reached an intersection that had a grade crossing. What you're supposed to do with these, and I really hope you do this, is you're supposed to wait at the stop thing for the train to go by, and then things go up and the bells don't ding, right? These people didn't think that. They got very impatient. They're like, fuck this, I'm going around this. Let me tell you right now, don't do that. Because due to their impatience and absolute recklessness, tragedy occurred because, yeah, let's be honest, the car got hit by the train. And when it inevitably reached us in Rocky Mount, North Carolina on July 3rd, it had already had a single timeout in South Carolina near the border. They had to wait, I believe, 1 or 2 hours to allow the crew to rest, and I don't blame them. That is absolutely horrific to have to deal with. It was very somber on the train heading up to Chicago. Now, I do think that Amtrak tried their very best to make do of the situation as they could. They provided free pizza to everyone on the train. Doesn't matter if you were in coach or if you were in first class, you got some free Little Caesars pizza from the store down the road. And they definitely cheered some people up. I saw this kid and his mom that were sitting next to us in the dining car. And yeah, the kid's mood lightened up a lot. And even the mom's mood lightened up because the kid's mood lightened up. I didn't particularly have the pizza. I wanted to try the first class dining car because it was my first time doing first class. I did try it. I had the steak. It was pretty good, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it was the least on my mind at the time because, you know, the other thing was on my mind. I got a refund for the remaining distance that we didn't travel from Toledo to Chicago, and I used that to pay for my SGDQ 2026 fare. And you know what? The rest of the trip was fairly okay. We got on the Borealis the next day, took a 7-hour train ride, went through Milwaukee where those hack frauds live all the way to St. Paul, Minnesota. Chance took the bus and I took the light rail to the hotel. We had a pretty good week at SGDQ 2026. I did my run of Citadella. It was decent. I didn't hit the button that crashes the game. That's a real thing, by the way. Now, elephant in the room aside, we did make one specific change to our trip on the way back. Instead of taking the Lakeshore Limited and the Carolinian, we decided to do just the Floridian. That did warrant an extra day in Chicago, though, and we had to book a hotel room somewhere, and the rooms in downtown Chicago were pretty expensive. The room we booked was at La Quinta in Gurnee, Illinois, and you can probably guess where this is going because I didn't realize at the time how close to Six Flags Great America this hotel was. It was within walking distance, so I did some training during that period, and then I spent a few hours at the park. Now, I know what you're thinking, and probably what you're saying to your monitor right now. Don't worry, I do it too. Why the hell are you telling us this instead of doing that, you know, series that you planned out and showing us the adventure? About that. So yeah, to no surprise, after getting back from the trip and reviewing all of the footage, along with some other things, I kind of realized over the last year of trying to wrangle this mess that due to how it was recorded and just the turn of events that happened, this wasn't gonna work out. So for the first part of this video, we're going to just talk about what kind of went right and what went wrong. This is a post-mortem, more or less. And I'm gonna show you some snippets of the trip on either side, and maybe even with some audio. And in the other part of this video, we're going to be taking a look at my plans for the upcoming SGDQ, what I'm planning on doing for the live stream in the future, in addition to stuff on this hellscape of a website known as YouTube. So with that, okay, so what the hell actually happened well, if anything, with this whole mess of an experiment you were doing, Teebs? Good question. All right, number one, we got through this with our sanity intact, mostly. Gonna be honest with you, a little bit stressed out, more than usual. We'll get to that. And other than the bookends of the trip on the Floridian, this was a pretty decent, pretty good SGDQ. I didn't get to do as much as I wanted, but that's kind of the thing with these events. You only have so much time. Very funny for a speedrunning event, but still, you don't have that much time. You only have 7 days, and you only wait for so much of them. And other people only wait for a certain amount of time, and everyone's going to bed at certain times of the day. So it's a bit hard to hang out with a lot of my speedrunning peers that I wanted to hang out with, but there is always this event. Now, while I didn't get to spend time with everyone that I wanted to speak with during the event, I did get to spend time with a good number of my friends. We had Raza, Rip Chip, and Honeybird as the main rooming people for the event. I also spent time with Taxxodium and his friend. There was also Manny, Pippo, Leslie, and Bear. Chance was there as well. We got to enjoy yet another edition of Silly Block at the event, where, like I do with Alpha Block, I try to sit in the stream room for the entirety of it and try to enjoy as much as I can. Then go to the hen house, eat food, and then crash for 6 hours. And then in the evening time, watch Canned Film, which is our little movie night that we have on Thursday evenings, same day as the blocks. I got some really good B-roll from this trip. Oh boy. All right, so I keep talking about this shot right here. This is my favorite shot from the entire trip. Hands down, favorite shot. There was also in the introduction this part where we're interacting with the Mississippi, I believe, river. We interacted with it multiple times. That was pretty cool. And then there was also that last mile heading into St. Paul where we're alongside the river and there was waterfowl and just a whole lot going on the river. Very nice. Finally, while the series as a whole is definitely not doable, I'm not dealing with that mess, I do have some footage that I can actually use. So I went to 3 parks, right? We went to Valley Fair, which is a very underrated park in my opinion. If you have a Six Flags season pass, this is the last year, as far as I'm aware, that you can actually use it. Definitely go. We also went to Nickelodeon Universe at the Mall of America. Got to ride the log flume. Also rode the rock bottom plunge ride, the Gerstlauer Eurofighter. And then also I went to Six Flags Great America on my lonesome. Chance stayed at the hotel. That was my first visit to that park, and I rode most of the rides, not all of them, and I thought they were pretty good, but I have my thoughts on all 3 parks for the days that I went, and we'll talk about them with the park report. All right, let's get into the big meat and potatoes of this hellscape. What the fuck happened that made the series not doable? Well, before we get to the elephant in the room, I do want to talk about equipment real quick, particularly camera equipment, because that was a little bit of a hassle with this event. So for some reason, I decided to bring a DSLR camera with me, the Canon EOS M2. It's a pretty decent little camera, have a little bit of a nice lens on it. Bought it from a coworker for $250. Thought, you know, this would be a nice thing to film this entire event with. No, as it turns out, it's a terrible idea. Don't do it, because you're gonna have to carry a bag with you everywhere. It just led to me using my iPhone 12 as my daily phone that I recorded footage with, because it's less awkward to just whip your phone out to record something than let me get my camera out of my bag. And we're not even gonna talk about the hell that is taking in cameras with detachable lenses into theme parks. The short answer is, you don't. To get ahead of ourselves, I have this Sony Handycam right here. This is a pretty decent little camera. I bought it at a pawn shop in Raleigh, North Carolina for an amount of money. I forgot how much I spent on it, but it has some pretty nice features. First off, stunning feature, 1080p 60. and not 1080p 30 like the Canon. Fascinating. Also has a memory stick and an SD card slot. I put a 256 gig SD card in it. Good to go. Fits in your hand fairly well. You record stuff very nice. You can take it into theme parks. In fact, I'm actually using it right now as an overhead camera for my videos on Palm OS devices that I am working on. I have a number of them scripted out, and I'll be filming them hopefully in the near future. We'll get to that. On the off chance that I do decide to use my iPhone, though, I want to make sure that the settings on that match this thing. But hopefully I won't have to use it, and I can just use the camcorder for the entire event. For you see, one of the problems with using a Canon EOS M2 and an iPhone 12 Pro Max is that they both don't output the same type of files. I mean, they output video files, that's a no shit type of thing. I'm talking about the file formats and the compression, encoding, and other things, audio. Let's talk about a fun time. So at the time of me originally starting editing this footage, I was using DaVinci Resolve on Linux. I sometimes still use it for certain things, but I had to move over to the Mac version because, well, it was a nightmare. I had to basically convert everything, not only video format, but also audio encoding because iPhone AAC audio. Linux DaVinci Resolve, at least by default, doesn't support it, and I didn't want to go through the hellscape of trying to get it to work, so I just moved everything over to my MacBook. So I record footage using the Windows and Linux box, and then I edit everything on the MacBook. It's a trifecta of fun. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Need to stress, very weird, very uneasy feeling trying to edit the first part of this fucking series. You had a 100% preventable tragedy happening, looming over the entirety of just getting to St. Paul. It is an absolute nightmare to try to, like, do that, storyboard it, find appropriate music for it. Ugh. Fun fact, if you didn't know, I write music, and I decided at some point I was going to compose an entire fucking score for this video. Got talked out of it by Blaz, one of my VTuber managers, and you know what? That's a very good thing that happened because that would have plummeted my mental health had I done that. I do want to use some of the footage, and again, you've seen some of the footage during this video. All right, let's talk about the next hellscape, which is my mental headspace of the last year and even the last 2 months and how it's been affecting how I've been approaching basically everything. I don't know if this comes as a shock to some people, but I work in the IT industry. I talk about tech a lot on stream and even in my Discord and even on Blue Sky. And yeah, I'm very acutely aware of how easily my job can be replaced by the generative LLM and machine learning hellscape. And by the way, if there's anyone at my job, that work at my job that's watching this video and has gotten to this point, hi, cynical bastard here. As an aside, I'm not calling it by the 2-letter name that the industry would like you to call it. I don't think it really fits those things. I think LLM and machine learning is basically the long and short of it, and I feel like trying to criticize or dunk it, but still calling it by that buzzword is only going to give people justification in calling that. So if you like people to stop calling it that, stop calling it that. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so I wanted to try to get a little bit more serious with content creation on the off chance that something bad happened and I would have to rely on it. Unfortunately, as it turns out, flying by the seat of your pants is not helpful when you've been doing it for 15 years and you need to actually lock the fuck in. Don't worry, we'll be delving into this a little bit later. So fun fact about me, it was observed by me and my VTuber managers, yes, there is more than one, that I tend to aim a little bit too high with the content I make, and you may have noticed it as well. And I think the most concise way of actually being able to explain that is just I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out. That's basically it. And I'm just aiming high because I want to get it on the first try. That doesn't help. It does tend to cause things to spiral out of control. I have 2 perfect examples of this. Example 1 is a video on a little fan game called Ode Zelda 1, which does not have any audio because I was playing it on Linux and no MIDI.
What the fuck?
What the? Yeah, but do.
Fresh at one point said this.
They look like they're about to run from fucking Scooby-Doo.
Oh, you've inspired me, Fresh.
Ooh.
And this led to me doing a very elaborate audio panning joke, which I'm going to be honest with you is very time consuming. Just take a look at this. That's a
fucking bear.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember this fucking enemy.
That's my favorite enemy in the game.
Oh my fucking god.
What the I think this is playing too fast.
That thing is like something you can light up at some point for whatever reason. I don't
That's a
know
good
what
point. Well, the bear is dead.
Now we go up here.
Oh. Can I read sign?
Nope. Oh, sweet.
I got better sword.
Question mark?
Oh my god, diamond sword. This is Minecraft.
You can just modify the game, like, values.
Gives you replayability.
Yeah. But now you're burning it down.
The guy on the bottom left is taking a break.
He's not getting paid. So, like, why the fuck would he fight you?
The other video that probably won't come out at this rate is a video on the game Santa's Vacation, which was supposed to come out last Christmas. As you've noticed, it hasn't come out, and the reason for that is because this video has a 3-hour recording of me trying to get the top of the cumulative high score list, which I did do, and I've only gotten an hour of that footage edited, and that video is already 20 minutes so far. If you're a supporter of the Fine Quality live stream, you do have access to that work in progress print for both of these videos. So if you would like to take a look at that and you have access to that lounge on the Discord, definitely take a look at that. Holy shit, my workflow is a mess and it's affecting not only the videos I do for this channel, but also streams. We'll get to the latter later, don't worry. Okay, how the hell do we explain this setup? It is a trip and fire hazard after all. So I have 2 boxes for the stream and recording setup. We have my Windows 11 box, which I really would like to not have a Windows on, but I have some issues with that. AverMedia drivers. There are some for Linux, but I've heard this very spotty. And then we also have my actual Linux box, which I do all my day-to-day stuff on, including gaming, script writing, although I've moved to other things with that. And it's also a file server for my various things around my house. I used to use DaVinci on it, but I moved that to my MacBook and my iPad M4. All right, this part wasn't in the script, but I really need to actually explain just how bad of a setup this is because that part did not explain it that well. This is a mess of cables. I need to just stress to you how much of like a nightmare this is. This is impossible to cable manage. So I have a bunch of consoles off to the side, even some computers, and then all their respective outputs are going into their respective things. So SCART cables go into a SCART switch, and then that goes into a SCART component, and that goes into a component splitter, and that goes into the PVM on my desk, and then to the capture card, the Retro Tink, and whatnot. The composite goes into their own respective things. The audio from the consoles goes into a soundboard, because I have one of those. It's a little Radio Shack one. Even my computer also has cables going out of it into the stream PC, which is also going into the monitors on my desk. I have 5 monitors on this desk, by the way. Fun spoiler. You can't see them, but they're there. Including that 50-inch television that wants to crush my fucking head in. And I think what makes this very hard in terms of doing content creation is because I want to do some overhead stuff, right? I want to do some capture things. I don't want to have to constantly swap things in and out all the time. That's the big issue with this setup is I have to swap things in and out all the time. And then Windows 11, being it, has audio issues because its audio stack is garbage, at least to me. And that's why streams are late. My setup is an absolute fucking mess, and it makes just getting streams on time really hard. Life. All right, here comes the gut punch. Punch number 2 in the video. So some of you may have remembered back in AGDQ 2025 when I did my bonus run of Degeneration, my very first speed game, that I mentioned that my grandfather on my mom's side got diagnosed with cancer. It happened quite literally the day before the event started. So that was fun. And then after that, I did get to go see him. It was hard to be in the room during that time. And then as I was quite literally heading up for MagFest, my only MagFest I've been able to go to, he passed away from stage 4 liver cancer. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that grief has kind of sat in my head, even now. Like, you can hear it in my voice a little. I don't mention this often, but I do tend to have panic attacks a lot, mostly at night when I'm laying in bed. It's the thought, you know, the thought of the end. And I call it the thought because I don't want to conceptualize it other than that. It is the thought, and it causes me to just lose it. I'm just like, my brain is just on fire, and I just cannot stop thinking about it. So yeah, that's fun to have, just going over the last year. And you know what makes it even worse? It actually gets worse, if you can believe it. And a strong sense of just absolute double whammy. As soon as I got back from SGDQ this year, which I went with my sister this time, she had a fun time, but we got back. Quite literally, the Sunday after we got back, my dad's mom died. Also, potentially, it's not for certain 100% what she died from, but it was either natural causes or there was some inklings of potential of cancer. She did smoke a lot, so it could have actually been cancer. But to make matters even more, like, just salt in the wound, her funeral was on the same day as my grandfather dying. So, like, you have just... And I had to sit at the funeral with two griefs just clashing at each other at the same time. And, you know, it's hard, you know? So yeah, I'm a bit of a mess. If you haven't guessed, a lot going on, a lot of just stuff in my head. So what do we do now? Well, let's start with SGDQ. It's coming up in about a month. In fact, it'll start in exactly a month, as of the time of me recording this dialogue that you're listening to right now. And there is that time-honored adage, if first you don't succeed, try again. So I guess we're trying again. It's just me and my lonesome this time. No sister, no chance, just me, and a roomette for 20-something hours, and then on the Borealis for 7-ish hours. Get to spend a night in Chicago for each leg, going to and back. And then I get to hopefully have a good week in Minneapolis, St. Paul for SGDQ 2026. I know there's stuff going on in the city. Not great stuff, but hopefully that doesn't affect anyone at the event. Now, to kind of help with getting this attempt of this video done, I'm going to take a little bit of the time while I'm on the Borealis and in the evening times when I'm in Chicago to go through the initial footage, figure out how to storyboard it at the least, so when I come back I can actually film the death scenes, because I obviously won't be able to do it while I'm on my trip. So to help with the script writing process, I have bought a few devices that can potentially help me with this. Number one, I've bought the AlphaSmart Dana. This is a Palm OS PDA hybrid, 16 megs of RAM, 33 megahertz Motorola Dragon Ball VZ processor, 2 SD card slots. Pretty cool machine, but its battery life is absolutely horrific. It will probably last me the trip up to St. Paul, and then probably a little bit after that, but then I would have to replace the batteries, and there's no button cell in it, so that's not good. And the Neo 2 from AlphaSmart, which is also a word processor, not a PDA, and gets 700 hours on those batteries you put in the Dana. It also has a button cell, but it's only 4 megabytes of storage instead of 16. Some very late additions to this particular video. In fact, I received it today as I was recording this. The Scion Series 5 MX, which is a Palm Top computer running on an ARM processor, 16 megabytes of RAM, compact flash slot, and a backlight, and it runs Symbian OS. Yes, the one from your smartphone, you know, that Nokia that you used for like a couple months before you traded it in for an iPhone 4. And just to answer, yes, I am very acutely aware of the issues this particular machine has. The display cable and the hinges. We're going to try a mitigation for the former. I don't know what to do with the latter. And on the note of the Scion 5 MX, we also have the Diamond Mako, which is just a rebadged Scion Revo Plus, which is the 5MX but without the backlight or the compact flash storage. Same processor, amount of storage, pretty good. Oh yeah, except for that battery problem, because it has a nickel metal hydride battery that you have to use. You can't use disposable batteries like the 5MX, but this will be a good way to test these out so I can figure out how to do content creation in a better way. And speaking of content creation, . It really fucking sucks for me to have to announce this alongside other things, but I'm going to have to pause streaming on Twitch for the foreseeable future. I will get back to it, but I just can't do it right now. There's a lot on the back end that I need to deal with. Excruciating amount of stuff. You have no idea. And trying to do this while doing live streaming and content creation and a day job that is kind of stressing me out is not going to help. So I'm just nipping it in the bud. No streaming. Just gonna focus on the content creation stuff that I can go at my own pace with and try to get the back end of stuff in a way that will help just getting streams past the finish line of starting, if that makes sense. Because yeah, if you've noticed, I've not been able to really start streams on time as of recent. Okay, for a good bit. So the main reason I've been late for streams as of recent is because of the fact that, well, let's just get this out of the way. I worked 5 work weekends, or I am working 5 work weekends. I think that is the better way to put it, because I still have 1 more remaining. That is 5 12-day stretches of work. 12 days in a row, by the way. Just so I have enough money, not only for the train-related things that I have to deal with, but there's also travel expenses, there's Era 3 stuff of the live stream that I need to deal with. Gonna be honest with ya, been fucking miserable during all this. I was so fucking miserable that I missed my speedrun request stream for May because I crashed due to absolute exhaustion. I was absolutely miserable that my boss made me quite literally take Tuesday of this exact week off because of how absolutely bad my mood has been. And I thank him for that because I slept for 14 hours, although it does have the side effect of making my sleep schedule a bit weird. I'm recording this at 5 a.m. by the way. I will note, there are some changes in my position in the very near future. Should hopefully make it to where I can get streams going at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight, Eastern Standard Time, when I do get back to it, because I will have to stop at a very specific time. We'll see if that works out. If not, I'm gonna have to figure out a new way for the schedule. On the various tbcr things that I'll be working on in the future, I will note alongside Era 3 preparations, I will be working on YouTube content almost exclusively in the meantime. I say almost because I am working on an album currently. It's mostly an instrumental album of various rearrangements of tracks that I've done over the years, and should hopefully be pretty cool. But in terms of the YouTube content, I have a few retro tech videos that I would like to do alongside the SGDQ recording attempt that I'm doing and the usual plays videos. Don't know if you know this, I like retro tech. I have a lot of it, to be honest. I have a bunch of old Macintoshes. I have a Sharp X68000 along with some X1s, some PC 98s and 88s. I have a Texas Instruments 94A, I believe that's the model, and a bunch of old consoles. And a lot of Palm PDAs and Palm Top computers to talk about. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be doing a Palm PDA buyer's guide for 2020X. I'll be honest with you, the magic rectangle in my pocket just makes me miserable. And I've noticed that Palm PDAs and other devices have made me a lot more productive. So on that note, I want to talk about the various devices that I own, which particular OSs they run on, their RAM, particular little quirks about them, and what to expect if you were to get one. I do have 6 of them scripted up in various states, including the one that this entire script was written on, by the way. The Alpha Smart Dana. I wrote this whole script, 3,500 words, in one night. I don't normally write that much in a day, so that's very impressive. Now, there is some testing that I have to do with these videos, but we'll get to those when we get to those. But right now, just scripting as much as I can before I actually have to film stuff in order to fill in some of the blanks. And we'll see how that goes. Speaking of filming, I don't know if you know this, but I have actually been doing my day job and this stuff in my living room for like the last year, I think. Yeah, the last year. I would like to change that, so I'm gonna be moving the content creation stuff back up to my office upstairs, and then I'm gonna leave the work stuff down here because there's a little bit more sunlight down here, so I'm not just gonna be sitting in complete darkness all the time. Inevitably, and at some point, I would like to find some office space in my area that I could rent to actually be able to have a dedicated space to make things at. It would also let me be able to do VR content again, because I don't really have a lot of space at the moment to be able to do stuff like that. I did get inspired by Shouting Australian Man, Dankpods, and Cathode Ray Dude Both fantastic channels for tech stuff and audio stuff and video stuff. But yeah, they have their own dedicated working spaces, and I thought that was a pretty neat idea, but I'm trying to find a good space that isn't that much. Really, I only need like a dedicated room for it. And obviously, with a new era, means a new look. But that's for the future. So yeah, if you made it to this part in the video, I do want to apologize for things being a bit of a mess. It has been a mess, and I do hope to get to some good content in the future. While I don't normally like talking about this during videos because I feel like it detracts from the experience, I do hope that you consider hitting those buttons down below for subscribing and hitting that bell target doodad thing down below. I don't know where it is. To see more content on this hellscape of a channel where variety is a bad thing. It is still the example, by the way. But yeah, if you want to see more stuff on here, definitely consider hitting those buttons. And if you want to catch me on streams when I inevitably get back to them, you can find a link to my Twitch down below. There's also fine-quality website, which has an embed of that very stream in the bottom middle part of it. Also on fine-quality website is a list of all the socials for me. If you see anyone on the Letter app or Bird app or whatever it's called at this point, it's not me. You can find me on Blue Sky specifically as my main social. And I talk about a lot of, I kind of treat it like a blog. It's a microblog, obviously, and I do treat it like that. I talk about various things, technology, just certain like musings and observations and whatnot. I don't do a lot of meme stuff like other VTubers out there. I'm very introspective when it comes to talking about stuff on there. And yeah, that's where you can say hi to me outside of streams. So if for some reason you were interested in supporting this fine quality mess that is known as tbcr Productions in some sort of monetary fashion, do note there are some ways that you can do that. When I was streaming, Twitch subs were kind of the most direct way to do it and were kind of the lowest tier in terms of what you could do. You get access to a supporter lounge. It gives you early access to any videos I post on this website, along with work in progress prints, bonus videos that are Discord exclusive, and behind a scene things, which is behind the scene, but I named it behind a scene because I thought it was funny. Now for the coffee, there is a little bit of a bonus on top of the Twitch sub, and it's a little bit cheaper than a Twitch sub in some countries. You do get access to the supporter lounge and all the content that's in that, but you also get speedrun credit for when I do my speedrun stream on the fourth Saturday of each month, when I do them, when I get back to streaming. And yeah, it's a very interesting stream where if you want to make me speedrun wheels like 20 times and are willing to put your money where your mouth is, you can force me to suffer for like 6 hours. Wheels is not a fast game to speedrun, I need to note that. And for the upper tier of the coffee, you also get your name listed in the little box at the top of the screen there. These are some example names, but when there's actually people to put in the box, they'll be put in there. In addition, you also get access to a poll. Lets you kind of influence a little bit the future content of this channel. So my throne is quite literally the exact opposite where it is, and I'm not joking, my to-do list for things that I need to buy. It's just a lot easier to just put stuff on there and then glance at it being like, okay, I need to get SCART cable for Amiga. It is ultimately my reference, but if you'd like to beat me to the punch, well, you have an option to do that, and you'll get shouted out in whatever video that shows up in. And then you'll also get shouted on the stream if I'm back on streams by then. And all my socials. Anyway, I've been rambling on for too much at this point, and I just need to shut the fuck up so I can get this video done. So with that in mind, my name is tbcr, and I'm wishing you a good morning, evening, afternoon, however you are, wherever you are. Above all, have a good one. See you next time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.